This is Henrik Bushman. I'm a software developer in Toronto, Canada. My website is internetcommons.ca, and this is the second screencast in a series that I call What is Drupal, in which I put forward the proposition that a good way to understand Drupal is by thinking of it as consisting of 5 key properties. That it's a resource manager, a configuration manager, a content manager, a state change machine, and a rapid application tool. So in this screencast, I'll be looking at Drupal as a resource manager, which essentially means the files that are involved with the installation as well as the database. So the example website that I'm using is called vegetableDiet.ca. It happens to be quite a simple website of my own. There it is. It has a few bits of information about ways of eating. So this is a very generic installation of Drupal. VegetableDiet.ca is a fairly simple website. And this is what you're looking at here is the root directory of the Drupal installation, which consists of a lot of directories. Almost all of them are Drupal system files that really shouldn't be touched, except to look inside them to see what's in there, or examining the source code perhaps if you're trying to figure out what's going on. As is true of the core installation as well as contributed code, you can categorize the files into a few common groups: modules, themes, libraries, images, and other resources. As I say, the core Drupal installation includes all of those. Contributed modules that we'll have a quick look at essentially consist of the same categories, and custom code can produce a similar set of files, and then of course the user contributes images and other types of files. So again, just to have a quick look at these, you can see that there are a lot of modules that are organized in roughly by the type of service that they provide to the Drupal installation. So there's the dashboard, there's a lot of code to do with the database and organizing that, file handling, form handling, something about the aggregator, block handling, blog handling, color, comment, all the things that you'd expect, quite a lot of these things. The key point here is that Drupal itself is organized by modules and is organized such that the mechanism that it uses internally to collect the services that make up the application framework, the same mechanisms are made available to others to contribute modules of their own. Now, quickly, a second area to look at here is themes, which are the files that are used to create the actual presentation, visual presentation of the pages and other aspects of the website. Drupal comes with a number of themes that are provided by default: Bartik, Garland, 7, and Stark. Bartik is often used. I don't use any of these for the vegetableDiet.ca website. However, it also comes internally with a theme for the administrative pages or the configuration pages that are used, so as not to cause any disruption of those administrative pages when themes that may have different looks and feels are installed. For contributed themes and any other material that is not part of the core, the convention is to install those under this sites directory. And there are a number of ways of configuring this. The default way is just to put everything under a directory called all. And again, there you see modules and themes. Modules in this case are modules that are contributed or modules that in fact added by the site builder. In this case, I've added a number, quite a number, as you can see, of modules, many of which are very standard additions for most websites. For example, views is used on many websites. I happen to like the node queue module as a way of organizing lists of views and allowing the administrator to put, lists of pages and allowing the administrator to order those lists in a custom manner. Libraries is a module that allows one to install third-party applications such as JavaScript code for the front end, and there are a number of others. So in this case, I've added about 30 modules, or as I often think of them, services. A key thing to keep in mind here is that in all of your installations, you're going to want to create probably some kind of subdirectory. It can be anything. I just happen to call it custom modules here, to place your own modules, one per directory, and it's always a good idea to start with one. I happen to call this module after the name of the website itself, and there's only two parts really that are required. You have to provide the name of the main file, and also for the list of modules, which we'll see at another time, the name that'll be presented in the administrative website, some kind of a description, which in this case is the same, a package, which is the grouping, and the version of Drupal that it pertains to, and then really a default repository for any code that you have. I have very little code here. In some cases there can be a lot. The last application that I worked on, which was a commerce application, I had something like 12,000 lines of code that I wrote for it, so it can vary quite a bit. I've got a minor modification to the page title here, and for purposes of this demonstration, I've added a little bit of code to display the structure of the data elements of a node. So there's the module aspect of the files that are installed, and there's also the themes aspect. I showed you the themes that come by default in the Drupal area. These are other themes that I installed to play around with. I ended up using the Zen theme and a sub-theme of the Zen theme called Neptune, which is a responsive design theme, and fairly simple and straightforward. That's all I needed for my use case. And then again, another critical thing to keep in mind is that you're always going to want to create a sub-theme of the active theme that you're using on your website, in order to have a repository for any modifications that you want to make. The way that Drupal organizes this is that when it is rendering a page, it first looks to the deepest sub-theme for resources. If it doesn't find it there, it looks to the next sub-theme in the chain, the next higher sub-theme in the chain, and then continues up the chain until it finally finds the main base theme for the presentation aspects of the website. So it's a kind of cascading default system. It's very good because typically there's very little that has to be modified, and so this structure allows you to work by exception. So in this case, I've added just a very small template fragment here, basically to allow for blocks of floating content to appear side by side as opposed to in a vertical row, and made a couple of minor modifications to the basic HTML shell and the page shell, and that's really it. Everything else is taken care of by the more senior theme aspects. I've also created a CSS file for customized styling. So that's an overview of the file structure of the system files and the contributed files, as well as the custom files. Just one more thing to cover in terms of files is the user files, which again, the location can be configured, but by default user files are put in this directory just called files under default. These other directories, most of them are created by modules for their own purposes. For example, the style subdirectory has a further subdirectories to hold copied, resized images of or sort of versions of images that the user uploads if they're required by the interface at particular sizes. You know, there are a variety of other things in there, but essentially that is where the user files are stored. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, and in the next screencast I'll be talking about the database management. This is Henrik Beshman of internetcommons.ca.